Hello, welcome to the Drive Fitness program. We are going to start this year off strong with a lot of new announcements. The first big announcement is that we have launched the app. I'm going to release this episode once the app is up on the Google Play and the Apple App Store. So please go check that out. Please download the app and reach out to me if you become a user. I'm really interested in connecting with our users. So I'm just going to give my number right here. Please send me a text message at 703-577-4810 if you start using the app. I'm really curious about your guys' feedback, and I'm really excited to connect with our users. So please reach out to me if you're going to download and use the app. If you want to check out what the app looks like right now, I just released a YouTube video that demos the new app. So please go check that out on YouTube. And that's also going to kind of make today's episode probably make a lot more sense. So either before or after this episode, I would recommend going and just watching that YouTube video because we're going to talk about the app a lot on today's episode. We're going to kind of separate the podcast into seasons, not officially or anything, but basically every new year is going to start a new season. So we're going to have a new cover art for the podcast. We're going to have a new theme song for every year. And with this season, I'm going to be kind of calling this season 1 because, well, the app just launched. So this is kind of the beginning of that. And also, if you are hip to programming, we kind of start counting at 0. It's just a thing that programmers do. So up until this point, it's kind of been season 0. Now we're starting on season 1 with the app launch. We just named the podcast, the program, recently. So this kind of, to me, feels like the beginning, which is very exciting for me. And, up until this point, it's kind of been like the prequel. We're going to have some slight changes to kind of the way I'm going to run the podcast. As I've mentioned, we have a Patreon page, and I'm essentially going to start putting all of the full-length videos on that Patreon account only. So I want every episode to be available for everyone, but we're going to have just the audio versions available, and then I'm going to use our YouTube channel for just putting out clips. So if you want to get the full-length video versions of the podcast, the only place you can get that is on our Patreon page. If you want to just watch the clips on YouTube and listen to the audio version, that's totally fine, and that's all free. I don't want to charge anyone for content, but we are kind of looking to get some support with that Patreon page. And with the way I edit those podcasts, I kind of feel that they should be more of an exclusive option for people. We're going to try that out for a year. If it doesn't work out, if no one really wants to use a Patreon page, I will put those all back on YouTube, or maybe if my editing gets to the place where I'm comfortable just putting those out for anyone, I will put those all on YouTube. But for this year, we're going to see how it works with just using the full-length videos on Patreon. Clips, demos, all that on YouTube. Audio version, obviously, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the rest of the audio platforms. And then do not forget to download the app on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That was a lot, but we're doing a lot, guys. To kick off the new season and the new year, I have none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Dromazos. Here is my guest today. I'm here in the new studio right now, but this episode was recorded right before I left for Florida about like 3 or 4 months ago. It's a little bit outdated, but for the most part, we're just discussing all the features we were working on at that time, which are now the current features that we're releasing. So I'm excited that I saved this episode for our actual launch. Matt and I obviously discuss all the new features, all the issues that he had with it, everything else that we're just doing for Drive Fitness. It's been a long time since we've had an episode just fully dedicated to Drive Fitness, since I usually try to promote my guests and whatever they're doing. So this is a super special episode. Final thing before we start the episode, big shout out to Frank Morazzo, who made us the new theme music for this season. We really appreciate you, Frank. You are the man. What's up, Matt? How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Glad to be with you here. Been a lot of things coming in. Glad to be here to talk about it all.
I know, man. We actually haven't linked up in like a month or two in person, I feel like, right?
Yeah, it definitely has been, and a lot's been going on. I think this is a good time to like catch up and let you know all the new stuff that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you've been working on that I still fully don't understand or haven't been caught up on, and I was like, dude, we should just do this on mic. Let's get it all down, right?
Oh, hell yeah, man. This is a perfect time too, and I think it's not only a good thing for us to, just brainstorm and talk about it, but also, keep our users informed and, tell them what's coming.
You want to just start with that big bulk of features and kind of explain
Yeah, so
what's been going on there?
I guess I'll just like list out what is going on. We can decide. We have the app side of things, the front end side, where we have a lot of social aspects coming to the app. And then we have some more technical aspects on the back end that we're doing a ton to get our app ready for production and be able to scale it up for when we start getting a scalable amount of users. So, right now we're getting some test users. We have some friends and family and people that we're outreaching to. This whole thing that we're setting up is going to be able to scale, and I'll go over that. But with a few clicks on a website and the cloud provider we're using, we can scale it up to whatever we need. However many users we have, we can scale it up to whatever our needs are.
What is the name of that cloud provider?
So our cloud provider is DigitalOcean. It's a great cloud provider. They're very cheap. We started with AWS, but AWS is really, they're okay for startups, but they really
It's expensive?
are expensive if you're trying to just get it off of the ground. You're trying to get your company off of the ground and you're not trying to break the bank. And these other cloud providers, they provide everything that you need, and they do it at a cheaper rate, and they provide the same SLAs. So service level agreements, which is the percentage of time that they can guarantee that their systems will be running.
Okay.
Out of, a year, they can guarantee that 99% of the time out of the year, they will be up and running.
Okay. So let's take a step back and just talk about these new features. Do you have a messaging section?
Messaging is now a system in the app.
Did you have to use any plugins for that? What?
Yeah, I've been like on my game about adding in new software that's going to help us lately, and
Nice.
we can go over that.
Yeah, let's talk about it all, man.
Yeah,
This is going to be a nerdy episode for those who...
it's definitely going to be a little technical. We're going to try to keep it on the less technical, and we'll explain anything that...
we'll dive into it. We'll dive into it.
Slowly.
What kind of software did you add for these messaging systems?
So, it's all... the back end, our code on the back end is very similar, but we have one extra thing that is only utilized for part of the system.
Okay.
We still utilize Spring Boot, which is our back end code, our back end framework.
Framework, yeah.
And with that, we add in what's called WebSockets. So essentially, what a WebSocket is just, it's instead of a one-way communication line between the app and the server, it's a two-way communication line. So say...
So the server can communicate...
This is the app, and this is the server.
Yeah.
Both of them can send data between each other. And
they couldn't beforehand?
No. Beforehand, it was always that the app would initialize the sending of data to the server. And then the server would reply back, but that was the end of it.
Oh.
Now it's a constant communication stream for the message.
When does the server need to, on its own, decide to send a signal to the app? Because it's still one user, I guess, sending a message to another user.
Right. But get into the part where, say, a user is online, one user is online, but the person that is receiving the message is not online.
Mm-hmm.
So the system needs to store that message until the user gets online. And so that goes into what's called a queue.
Okay.
And so you can think of a queue as like a line, where it's first in, first out. So the message goes to the system, it waits there, and if messages just keep going, it just gets added onto the line.
Okay. Yeah.
And so when the user that's receiving the message gets online, the server will take that line and send the stream of messages to them.
We don't have a lot of users doing the same type of thing, right? They're usually just talking to the server on their own. But if you have a backup of a bunch of messages that need to be sent out, right? This does seem like something that could get clogged up pretty easily and won't send out correctly if you have a bunch of users trying to send messages at the same time.
Yeah, and I took that into account when I was deciding which software to utilize for this. So the software that we're utilizing, it's one solution out of many that people use. We call it a queue because it's a queuing software.
What are some other options?
Some
that you
other
considered?
options. So the one that we're using is called RabbitMQ. And so the other one that's major and that's utilized for like, I think Netflix uses it, is called Kafka.
Kafka, I've heard of that.
Kafka is a big one that's utilized in enterprise software.
Netflix doesn't have a messaging system though.
They definitely
It's a queuing system.
They
though.
definitely utilize queues in their system at some point.
So this is not a messaging tool. Then you're just utilizing it as that.
Yeah, it's commonly used for messages, but it can also be used for other purposes.
So this just sits in your server. It takes signals in, and then it waits until the queue is up to send it out. Or
so the server will send it to the queue, and then when the user, say the person who's receiving it, logs in, the app will send a message to the server. The server will be like, okay, is there any messages in the queue to grab?
Ooh.
The server
So you got
grabs
to check every time he logs in?
Yeah, it's just a one-time thing when he logs in.
What if he logs in and there's no messages waiting for him? He's still logged in for 10 minutes and he gets a message during that time frame. Are you
It'll go straight to them instead of going to the queue.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so if you're on the app, it skips the whole queue. The whole queue thing is just for offline users.
Exactly.
And if you're both on the app at the same time, does it bounce to the server to them, or does it go right to their phone?
It goes to the server, but we can switch that up.
It just routes it right to them. Though.
Yeah, it'll go to the server, but then it won't even wait there. It'll say, go straight from the queuing server back to the API and then to the user.
Nice.
It was more complicated than I thought it would be, but there's definitely room for improvement. It's definitely like our first round revision.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of users at the moment that'll bog down any system. I mean, you probably didn't even need a fucking queue, right? I mean,
nah.
But you want to be ready for potential users to come through. How does the UI look on the front end? Is there like the waiting ... I mean, I know that's kind of fancy.
Not yet.
But
that's something that I'm looking at. We have read messages.
So it shows if you've read it or not.
Yeah.
And it just shows up.
Yeah.
Where's the messages located? In your profile section?
Yeah, so we have multiple places. It's for one in your profile. If you went and visited another user's profile, it would be there. There'd be just a button called chat. In the app now, with the whole social feature, you can upload videos and pictures. And so if you upload a picture and video, you can have other people commenting on that picture and video.
You have that in there too? Ooh, fancy, bro.
Yeah.
Fancy.
So we got that as well. And then
you've been doing a lot, man. We need to post an update, bro.
We got a lot going on, man.
So you got comments and on pictures and shit.
Comments.
That's fire, Matt. And so if I have a new message, will it show up with that little one like red,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
so
yet.
At the moment you would have to go in and just look
we have somewhere
check in there.
We have like a notifications page in the app, but there is a longer process for actually getting the notifications to pop up.
Yeah.
Like say you're on another app and you get a notification that you have to go through a longer process to get that
We
set up.
set that up at one point, dude, and that was the hardest thing we've ever done. I remember.
A pain in the butt, man.
That was literally the hardest thing is to get those notifications set up. What do we use? Did we use Firebase?
Yeah, we used Google Cloud Messaging, which is in Firebase.
If you want notifications to show up on like the home screen of your phone or to pop up when you're using another app, it's almost like a whole nother API you have to build for it. It's like a whole extra service outside of what you're doing that you have to send it through. It's very it's as complicated as setting up your own API, I would say. Like,
absolutely.
It's just this one thing. It's just, you would just think that notifications are just simple, but they're not. It's like a different application, basically. Your app is like reaching its hand out into someone else's phone. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just doing things within your app. Like, even the most complicated things within your app are just so much easier than actually reaching out and smacking that person in the face and being like, here's a new notification, bro.
Right.
So
you can't just send it to like a unique identifier, like your IP address or something.
I thought it would be more simple, but I remember that was by far like the most difficult thing we'd ever come across. Do we think we're gonna change that?
Like add it back in?
Or are we gonna do it the same way we did it beforehand?
So I've been researching it a little bit, and it looks like the way that we did it is still kind of the way that people are doing it.
Okay, so we should still have some code somewhere. Yeah. It doesn't work at the moment, right?
No,
but
at all.
It did work at one point.
Yeah, and so we got the general idea of what we have to do. I think a lot of time was spent like researching it back in the day and figuring it out.
Yeah, because you restarted the code base at one point. So if we go look through there and we find out whatever service, because It did work. We just didn't have a lot of users friending. It only worked if you sent a friend request out.
Right.
So I saw it like once or twice, but I mean, I didn't have a lot of users sending me friend requests often on the app. But with the messaging system, we could test that out and see those notifications a lot more often.
Much more frequent reason to use the push notifications.
For sure. Nice. So let's see. The comments just gets me so excited, dude, because that's just, I don't know. I assumed one day, but I didn't really even know if we were going to get like a whole comments type of formatting into the app.
It kind of worked in perfectly with the messaging because it was kind of like the same system and all the technology was the same. It was just
so the comments, they load back up in a queue somewhere, or
the comments are the same thing as the message, you know.
Okay,
it's just like placing it and like filtering it differently.
Okay, was there any cool like UI plugins for the front end for comments and stuff? I know Ionic has a lot of cards. Remember those things that you have, which guys are basically like a little profile tag. If you saw a list of profiles on Instagram or something, a card is just like a quick way to display a list of information.
Right.
Those type of things, Ionic has a cool feature for. Did they have something like a comment, or did you have to go in and create a comment text box and rows and things like that? Did you create that yourself, or? So
they didn't have something like straight up out of the box that was plug and play. Here's like one line of code and it works.
Okay.
But it was actually a lot easier than I thought. I opened up Chrome and I was like, Ionic, chat messaging system. Mm-hmm. And so I looked at code of what other people were doing and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take some of that and take some of that, and like kind of took what they were doing. It was all like open source code, and I was like, okay, I can use this. Pulled it together, and it has the same kind of style as like
it's like bubble phone. So it has like a bubble little thing on it.
It's got a little bubble and a little tail at the end.
And they didn't have like an Ionic bubble chat though. So but someone did a custom CSS, and there was some code for you to find.
Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah, that's something someone would have had to have done by now.
Yeah, you'd think about that.
I'm almost surprised Ionic doesn't have a little HTML tag for it, or I mean,
I created it. Ionic has components. Mm-hmm. Which a component is like a card you're saying, where it's like reusable UI features. Mm-hmm. So for example, like a button is a component. Mm-hmm. And so in the framework, and when you're coding, you can create your own components. So what I did was I took code from the internet, I like took bits and pieces of it, and I created my own like Ionic components.
Okay.
And so like if I wanted to, I could like publish it and be like, hey, Ionic team, and like everyone that uses Ionic, this is what I came up with. You could reuse this and put it in your app.
Nice. Where do we actually store these messages, right? So I understand you have this queue where we send the message back and forth, but are you storing that as like a giant JSON in our database somewhere, or what?
It is stored in the database for history purposes. It's also cached in the app, and it's also stored on the queue. Okay.
So that queue, it doesn't just send out the new messages, it also is like a storing system that has everyone's full history of their messages.
So the queue is just what hasn't been read yet.
Okay.
Your app holds everything that's been read and has already been sent, like your own cache, and then the database is just there
as a backup
to reload it. We have a pull down feature where like you pull down and it refreshes. At that point, it just grabs data from the database.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about the medals for a second. That's something that I've been like trying to push into the app for 2 or 3 years now. And a lot of times me and Matt do use an agile coding approach, but sometimes I feel like we use something called explosive programming, where you just kind of just start basically getting your ideas out and onto the app, right? Mm-hmm. And just doing things fast and not necessarily thinking things through.
Right.
But for me, someone who's more of like the idea guy in the past, like that has gotten me, like it's gotten my ideas out on the paper, and then, then they make sense to Matt or Blake, who has helped us in the past. With the medals feature, I essentially I was a little bit tired of waiting, and I built that feature in, except for it didn't have any back-end communication with our database.
Right.
So if we were to think this through, we would have been like, no, let's not build it that way. I found some cool metal icons off of like Adobe stock images. I signed up for that. I had to cancel it, but we paid for that for a couple months so that I could find some cool images, and I set up basically a bronze, silver, and gold medal on the front end. It was simple, like how many exercises you had. So if you had like 3 chest exercises, you had a bronze medal for chest. If you had like 5, you had a silver, and if you had 10, you had a gold. And all of that logic took place in the front end, which means there was no communication to the database. I would like grab some information from the database and basically did all of that logic in the front end, which Matt fucking hates. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to like show what a metals feature could look like
Yeah.
and just kind of set it all up there and put a little preview in the profile page. So that was something that I just wanted to display somewhere and kind of show what we could do. Like, it doesn't have to be number of exercises, right? We could do things with the amount of records that you get, or the amount of just total reps that you do, or the amount of workout plans that you follow, maybe the
Right.
amount of workout plans you completed, or we could have some sort of streak with consecutive days that you work out. I don't know, right? There's a lot of different things we could give medals for, but the hey, look what this feature could be was just number of exercises you had in each category. So, did you ever get a chance to like, work some back-end logic into that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I
so
think it's about like 70 to 80% done right now. I have all the groundwork laid out, and I'm really just adding in the rest of the achievements.
So, do you just have hard-coded numbers in the database for like the bronze, silver, and gold medals?
Yeah,
in each category.
We have levels now.
Well, we always had levels.
Well, no, this is like level
medal levels.
Yeah, medal levels.
Level medals.
Well, it's like level, like achievement levels is
Okay.
what we call it now.
Okay. So there's bronze, silver, and gold achievement levels.
At the moment, it's like a 1 through 5, but I can change it and be like 1 through 3. It was just like at the time when I was like,
Okay.
just
Well, we can
going
have like
through it.
platinum and like other.
Right.
I don't have a good image for that though, but I was thinking like it'd be cool to have like a platinum medal,
yeah.
something like that.
In the database, it's like 1 through 5, but we can call it whatever we want. All of that is detailed in the database. We don't have to use it that way. There's different ways that people do this. People do medals in this kind of concept, which is just like a rule-based concept.
Okay.
It's a broader topic is business rules. And so what people usually do is a business rule. For example, a financial form. When someone makes a deposit into an account, they'll calculate the interest. And so they'll say, okay, when someone does this, go through these rules. If this happens, then do this.
Someone enters in a new set or they
Yeah.
finish a workout, it's gonna run through these set of rules and check did they get any new medals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we use the same concept, and that broad concept is used in games when you do achievements in games and fitness apps with
Yeah.
ours and
So-
just a bunch of different apps.
The way I had it set up before you got involved, if you visited the medal page, it would show you if you're bronze, silver, or gold in these areas, right?
Right.
The way you're talking about it now, which I was going to get into, which I think is the hard part, is say you enter in a new set and that triggers a new medal, then you're going to want to see a pop-up that says gold medal, right? You
Right.
know, but that's going to be a lot harder because then every time you enter in a set, you got to, like you were saying, check all these rules.
Right.
And there's a, you know, if we put in 50 medals into the app, well, then we got to fucking check 50 different things every time you do basically anything,
But
you know.
we don't now. So
we don't.
It's a little bit different though, because depending on what you do, it'll trigger a different set of rules. So when you enter in a new set, it doesn't have anything to do with followers.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
It'll only check the 10 or so rules that have to do with anything to do with workouts and sets and history, stuff like that. So it'll go through that rules and
Got it.
10 rules there.
Yeah, I
mean-
like the followers one because I feel like
The followers is what
the day
I
one
end
you
up
get to
putting
the
in.
app, if there's a medal that's like bronze, 10 followers, silver, 20 followers, 30 gold, you know, for followers. Is it followers or friends?
We have it followers.
Followers and following?
Yeah, it's like how Instagram
Yeah.
does it.
Yeah, so if you're following 10 people, you get a medal real quick before you even do anything.
Right,
You know, and then that allows you to enjoy some of the social features.
Yeah, and you can.
yeah.
I want to have it so you can display like what your medal is, like if people want to care about that.
Yeah, I like the idea of just, and this is with everything with Drive Fitness, is the gamification parts of the app should guide you on your fitness journey without like cracking the whip and forcing you to.
Yeah.
So this app is going to be more fun if you have more followers. So here's a medal that rewards you for having more followers, but no one's forcing you to go check the medals and be excited about medals. But you know, there's a lot of gamers that I think that might not naturally be into lifting or want to use a fitness app, and then these little medal features are something that they're just used to with these games, and they're like achievement whores or something where they're like
they
OCD
love
about it.
dude.
They just see medals and they want them all to be gold, and they're like, okay. And then next thing you know, they're like mapping out ways where they can get every gold medal, and all of a sudden they're working out. And
that's been a thing for like a long time with gamers. Everyone said gamers would make great bodybuilders because they're like score based focused and like challenge focused. Bodybuilding is perfect for them, so they're like they set a goal. But the thing is, they're also kind of lazy. Like I'm lazy.
There's definitely
the thing is to like trick you into it.
There's definitely a small group of people that are into weightlifting and into video games, and the video games transfers really well over for I think people that can like connect those in their head and be like, oh, working out is just like one big video game to me.
I think there's like the community's kind of growing as video games are becoming now pop culture. Everyone plays Call of Duty's Warzone now. People who like even bodybuilding end up doing it.
Yeah,
we're in like converging markets.
Both of those hobbies are just so huge that they have overlap, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that we can help the other people who don't really know how to view weightlifting or exercise as a game, right?
Right.
They don't know how to kind of have this achievement mindset towards it. Or even for the ones that do, it'll be more fun, you know?
Initially, that's going to be our like huge market is people who really enjoy video games, but they also like enjoy working out.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, someone who's already interested in both, but needs that extra push, you know?
Yeah,
to get into
them
shape.
interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope you could really get people addicted to weightlifting through our app the same way they're addicted to video games. Because some people, they don't want to play video games, so they just do. Yeah. They want to quit, and they don't know how to. It would be cool if you were just like, shit, man, I'm just working out all the fucking time, and I don't know how to stop.
I need to stop.
It's like, there's worse problems. That's a pretty good thing, you know?
Yeah, like, your body is looking pretty good. I think you'll be okay.
Just can't stop eating healthy, man.
Yeah.
It's addicted to it.
What am I going to do?
I mean, you definitely can get addicted to working out, right? I mean, so...
Yeah, I mean, once you get in the habit of it,
and everyone's got addictions, so might as well pick a healthy one.
I think like it's just so much easier to do the unhealthy ones, right? That's why they're like addictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's more instant gratification, you know, from getting like a Fortnite win or doing like cocaine. Working out, you're gonna have to put months, you know,
maybe
into
with
it.
the app can give you some sort of
instant gain. Yeah, exactly.
And we're working toward that. I think we're getting there, and we have a strong idea to begin with, but there's so much good ideas out there that we can put into it.
Yeah, I think we can incorporate almost any idea, and then users can drift towards whatever features they want to use, you know?
Yeah. We give you rewards for putting in the effort.
Mm-hmm.
So you get, for one, the gains, but then you also get ways to look at your data and see how your progression is. So it gives you incentives to put in your data. So like I want to put in more incentives, you know, for people to want to put in their data, or if things change up, you know, for every day they might like have the same thing, but then one day maybe they go to a gym and then the guy's using their equipment at that specific time, which is a very common thing to have. And so they got to change it up, and then I want them to want to go into the app and change it and keep their workouts on track.
Yeah, I think the best way to get things in the app that other people can benefit would be to incentivize people creating workout plans that are public. You know what I'm saying? So if there's a medal that says create 10 workout plans and you're a gold medal or silver medal, then that incentivizes someone who knows a lot about fitness to come in and create 10 workout plans, and then someone like me or you who doesn't know as much might come in and be able to use those, you know?
Yeah.
Another feature you were telling me about is the ability to track someone running outside through like GPS.
Right.
And then maybe kind of displaying that on like a map grid picture.
Right.
Can you kind of go into that feature, what inspired it, and technical challenges maybe that you had?
Sure. Yeah, so what really inspired it was I was seeing a lot of my friends post similar pictures on Instagram.
I've been seeing that too.
Yeah, about I think maybe Orange Theory or some other company out there has that has the ability with their apps. And I was like, hey, you know, like that seems like a pretty easy thing to put in. If I want people to start using my app and I see that this is a popular feature, I don't want to not include it.
No, it's a sweet quarantine feature.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the running community is huge. People, it seems, do like to put it out on social media and post that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm all for the putting out there that you're working out and encouraging people to like say that you're working out.
No, I mean, it's great for us too. That's a great marketing angle to encourage users to share their picture of their run, on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I mean, we do need any help promoting ourselves and not just saying download the app, but displaying like a feature that we have.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely has a lot of potential, both just in-app usage and then showing off for outside the app.
Yeah, absolutely. The key thing about it was using Google Maps. So they have an API or they have their own source code that pretty much does all the heavy lifting with it. Periodically send coordinates to Google Maps, and then they send it back. They provide you pretty much with the code.
So you're setting Google Maps latitude and longitude coordinates, and they're then just converting that to like a picture on their map and giving it back to you, right? It's not like an actual functional map where you're kind of like you can stretch it and pinch it and stuff.
No, it's an actual map.
Okay, so we'll have a map embedded into into our app.
It's Google Maps embedded into the app.
Okay, so it won't just be at the end of your run. Mid-run, you'll be able to kind of see where you're at.
Yeah, you can follow along on your page as you're like going through. You'd see this little purple line.
Okay, nice.
That goes through, and then you can see it. And then at the end, the hope is, I mean, right now you can go back and look at your previous runs, but then the next step is to take it and put it onto a timeline and share it with friends. You can share it right now, like take a screenshot of it and then put it, onto. There's a little button that says throw it onto Twitter or Instagram.
So how often does our app update Google Maps with the latitude and longitude? Is it like every 10 seconds, 1 minute, every amount of distance?
It's when the latitude and longitude changes.
Every time that changes.
This does it all in code that I don't even write, right?
Have you tested this out at all?
Yeah, I went on a run and it worked on my phone, and then I was able to, take it and then put it on Instagram, and it was all fine and dandy.
Nice.
I can also look at my previous runs, and it's all good. When we actually put it out for the public, instead of the developer's license of Google Maps, you have to actually pay a couple dollars every month to use it. Which
okay, so it's a service through Google we'd have to pay for.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's worth paying for.
It is. It's pretty cost effective.
How do you save that into the app? Is it a bunch of JSON numbers? Where are you storing that information?
So right now we were using Oracle databases, which doesn't allow for JSON. So, well, it does, but it's a little bit more complicated than other databases. We were storing it as rows in a table, but we're moving back to Postgres, because it's funny when I first came in, we moved to Postgres, and we moved to Oracle, and now we're going to move back to Postgres.
Okay.
We're going to go back to storing that in Postgres as a JSON value, the user ID with their history ID, and it's going to have their coordinates there.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about DigitalOcean then, and that whole, you keep talking about these scripts to initiate and terminate the environment and all these things that I don't quite understand. So try to help me understand that.
Back in the day when I was, working on security automation and cybersecurity, I learned about this program called Terraform. Terraform is just like this language where you can describe your company's infrastructure, what you want to build, right? And so you can say I want to build a database, I want to build a server, I want to build, I want the server to have this details, and so you can just describe all the features and all your details of your infrastructure, your company's infrastructure, and then you can just say Terraform apply, and obviously you have to give it your credentials for your accounts and stuff like that. But we say Terraform apply, and it just runs some scripts and then tells DigitalOcean to start it up and create everything that we told it to.
Okay.
And so then when we're done with it, we can say Terraform destroy. It'll automatically take everything down.
But what's the point of that? Why do we need to create and destroy things all the time?
There is one big thing in the cloud. When you're testing, it costs money. So for one, it's good when you're trying to get all the pieces of your environment together, of your architecture. It's a lot easier to write some code and then have it build the software or build the infrastructure rather than actually building it yourself.
Okay.
So rather, instead of creating a server, installing the OS, installing all the software needed, running like 15 to 50 commands to get everything up and running, and doing that every time I have to build it up, I can just write this code one time and change it as I need to, and also whenever I do testing, I can build it up. I get charged for the amount of time that I use that, and then when I'm done, I tear it down, and I don't get charged for the downtime.
Okay.
So when we're testing, we obviously save money there, but when we're in production, the easy thing is that we don't get charged when we're doing testing, and then when we're ready for production, we just say, throw this up. Mm-hmm. And then our production environment is ready to go.
So you bought some sort of server that you host at your house, right? Like a physical server. And are we still, as of today, using that? We're still hosting everything off of that?
Currently, the app is still using that, yes.
Okay. And you want to move to this cloud environment. Mm-hmm. And I thought we were going to continue using that local server you have to test. Mm-hmm. But you're saying sometimes we're going to have to test up on the cloud. Because it makes sense to me that you want to test on Monday, you don't want to test for the rest of the week, so you just run these scripts, throws it up, run your test, destroy it, save money there. But I thought we were going to test on the local server still. Yeah,
absolutely. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to change the local server to utilize the same technology that we use on the cloud. Okay.
So then for the most part, though, we're just going to have our normal live server that the app is running off of on the cloud server, and then we're going to have our test server locally. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be too many times. It just doesn't feel to me like there's too many times where you're going to have to like create and destroy like environments. I guess
so. Here's beyond testing. The main feature is for upgrades.
Okay.
So the main thing is we run some code or we change something with the environment. Uh-huh. We can just, within seconds, we can run a script and it just rebuilds it. Mm-hmm. All of the servers, mm-hmm. all of the architecture rebuilds it, and in seconds we have the same environment but with our upgrades.
Okay.
And so it's just continuously working, and we can deploy an update. We can plan the update with the code, mm-hmm. test it on our local environment, and then when we're ready to go to production, we can say, hey, we have a downtime of 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So if anything goes wrong in that 2 hours, we have an hour and a half. We have like mm-hmm. 15 to 30 minutes of actually throwing it up on the server and making sure and doing testing on the server to make sure everything got created correctly. Mm-hmm. But then we have like another hour and a half in case something went wrong. And then the rest of the time it's up.
Got it.
Up and running.
So then aside from updates and stuff, this will come in handy too when we need to like load balance between two servers, maybe because we have a lot of users now, or just as we grow, we can scale it out.
Yeah, so we're using a new architecture too with our servers, with something it's serverless in a sense, but it's the same thing. It's called Kubernetes. And so it's not exactly in the original sense of using a server, where you have an operating system and you have your software layer on top of the operating system. Kubernetes, which I'm not going to get into right now because it is really complex. It's a whole different type of architecture and way of running your software.
Okay.
But in a sense, the Kubernetes platform picks and chooses what needs to run at one time and only utilizes the resources that are needed for what is needed. So say when I go and use the API, the server will take, say, the database off of, like, say we have a resource that mm-hmm. is like actual hardware that's running.
Got it.
Kubernetes will load the API onto the resource, run whatever is needed, and then say we're done with the API and we need to run something on the database. Kubernetes will take the API off of the resource, put the database on, run that, and then it'll utilize that.
That's so dynamic. So
yeah,
our API is not just running all the time. It's literally just like, it's like creating itself and destroying itself as requests come in and things like that.
Yeah.
Better be pretty quick at throwing itself up then.
Yeah. Oh, it's super quick.
Damn, bro, that's intense.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I'm starting to get it then. Did you run into like a lot of difficulties setting up this system with, what were some challenges or just maybe
I think a lot
some
of
insights that you have to share or tips for people?
originally I was learning everything about Kubernetes, and I'd say the biggest problem was actually just learning itself. Originally,
Was there like a new syntax or
it's a whole new style of and whole new way of the client to server architecture.
Are you setting up it with like a GUI or something? Or are you just running commands and shit or
A little bit of both.
a little bit of both?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a Kubernetes portal that you're kind of
Yeah, you have
Okay.
a portal that shows you all of your resources, right? All of your like architecture, but then you can't go in and I mean you can, but it's not like automated. You can't go in and say like create this server, but you can't really do everything with that.
So then you build a script that automates things.
Yeah, and so originally I was just using Kubernetes commands to build everything, and then I was having a talk with my roommate who does work with selling software to companies, and he was telling me about Terraform, which like I'd worked on a couple years ago. I was like, hey, that's actually like a good idea. I forgot about that. And so I looked into it. And I was like, wow, this actually fits our needs perfectly for like creating and automating and all around just making the whole deployment process and like the development of the infrastructure. Like that whole process was a ton easier to understand, but also to like actually build. Kubernetes commands, you write these files called YAML files. And then
I hate YAML files, dude. I dealt with those at work. They're so annoying, dude.
Yeah. I was not about it. I was having a ton of trouble. So then I started talking to my roommate about it, and he recommended Terraform. And I started doing that, and then like the speed at which I was going and developing things just like increased tenfold.
Ooh.
And so I
like tenfold.
Yeah. I was
That's a lot of
throwing
folds.
shit up really easily, like understanding what was going on. I enjoyed it so much better.
Nice.
So I got that down. And then the next big problem I was just talking about was making everything secure and certificates and whatnot. So that was like a big problem because you have to add in additional software, like additional services to make things secure in an automated way. So you can obviously just like buy a certificate, buy a way to make your site secure, and your traffic secure. You can buy that from GoDaddy and then just like install it manually. But to do it in an automated way required a lot of know-how into like what goes on. And so spent a lot of time troubleshooting and learning about it.
But you like security.
I do like security.
That's your thing.
Yeah. So this was like a new way of doing security that I knew the fundamentals, right? But like all this like automated way of doing it was new to me. So I figured that out, and that was a hassle, but the Kubernetes way finally.
So now you can throw up an environment and automatically attach a certificate to it and make it secure,
right,
if need be.
Yeah. Which
Man, dude.
Now
you like going through all these extra steps, like just in case, where I'd be like, nah, fuck it, we don't need to do that. But when we do need to scale out, these things are going to be like, oh, thank God you figured that out back in the day, you know? Right. And we're not dealing with me and you on the phone, and I'm like, Matt, we have 10,000 users overnight, and like we don't have, and like the servers are crashing, and like, oh my gosh, like, and then you got to figure all this shit out in the moment, you know? It's good that these automated procedures you have of spinning up and terminating environments are all in place, you know? I mean, if we never get users, that'll be sad, but the hope here is to grow into a big user base where these things, I feel like we're going to be more than necessary at a certain point.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you're like dealing with them now. I mean, yeah. I'm kind of a do it as you go guy, right? You know, but you seem like you're ready, right? You're ready for that traffic to come through.
Yeah, there's absolutely some times where I'm like, I can wait on this. We're getting to that point where I was like, I gotta kind of tackle this soon. For one, it was something that like I was interested in, but also it was gonna be necessary at some point in our company.
Cool, man. Well, I'm gonna start talking about some of the shit I've been working on. I don't know if we covered everything that you've done.
Yeah, that's it.
But if you think of anything else, let me know. So it was like 2 months ago we chilled in person, but at that point you and me sat down and we bought our own domain on GoDaddy. drivefitness.app. For those listening at home, if you want to check out our new website, drivefitness.app. And so what I did with that domain is I went and I created us a full Google suite So now I have Google Business Analytics all set up, and we both have now our own emails, right? I'm T Driver at drivefitness.app. You are M Dromazos, I think, or Matt Dromazos. I don't know.
It's M Dromazos. Yeah.
M Dromazos. So if anyone needs to email us on those, they can. I really, really like the podcast. I'm learning a lot. The fitness stuff motivates me to get in the gym and work out more. Recently, I've been learning a lot of marketing stuff from both Blase and Tony. They've inspired me to really step my marketing game up. So I told you I've launched like 2 marketing campaigns. One for Charlie's episode and one's for Blake's episode, where I just pump like $20-$30 into it. And I didn't really see many returns on the numbers. So I didn't really feel like it was worth my money. And Tony and Blase, they both explained to me there's something called a Facebook pixel where I have to take that and I have to implement it into whatever link we're using.
Right.
So that there's like this communication point between the link and the advertisement, so that we start like aggressively advertising towards people that are actually interested in the app, so that if someone clicks on my link, the Facebook pixel will know that. And then if someone actually clicks on something in the link, well, then the link will communicate that back to the advertisement, and it'll advertise to that person more. It'll also take that person's profile and advertise towards people more like them. The more you run these advertisements, the smarter they get, and the more they start targeting people who might actually want to download your app. As of right now, mine are just based on a demographic or something.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited to put a lot more effort into marketing moving forward. Once I get to about like podcast episode 30 is when I'm going to put a lot of time into it, because me and Tony were talking a lot about clips. So for instance, we could be like, how to create a DigitalOcean account, and I could clip the 3 minutes that you were talking about DigitalOcean. I could put that out.
Right.
And so once I'm sitting on about 30 episodes, my plan is to start creating like 2 clips for every episode and start like aggressively advertising those clips and trying to pull people back into the podcast in different ways through these little clips, right? Like basically little advertisements.
Like instead of like the whole podcast, you just like you take a clip of it. And it's like, oh, this is specifically what this person talked about. If you only want to listen to like this part, this is what we're talking about here.
Because there's been a bunch of good information. I could take part of Blake's podcast, clip it, try to get a bunch of tech people to come in, and then take a part of Sam's episode about personal training and clip it and sort of use those as little advertising points, where I feel like right now I just kind of have some friends that listen to the podcast and they might be fitness interested, but then they hit the technical one and they're just like, well, I don't know. And I need to start like targeting out different demographics with these clips. So I'm excited to do that with the podcasts. I've got a bunch lined up. Top of that, I've created a Patreon account, which we have 0 followers for. Not even you are a Patreon, Matt, so maybe you need to sign up.
Yeah, I'll get on that.
No, I mean, you'd have to pay me money. But I mean, essentially, I'm not going to get too worried about Patreons or not Patreons, because my thought process was I don't want to just start like shitting out solo episodes to the podcast without really thinking on it and like meditating on it. So I was going to record a bunch in advance. Also, if we ever want to switch to a weekly schedule, then I'd have a bunch kind of saved up.
Right.
Well, if I'm going to have a bunch saved up, I might as well put them on something like Patreon, where they can be out there and people who want to pay to get them early, or a lot of those won't go out. So if they want to pay to see exclusive episodes, they can, you know? So at the moment, I'm sort of treating that like my like audio diary, where I'm putting cool ideas into there and just kind of funneling things. I talk about like my personal fitness life. I talk about ideas that I have. I talk about, just kind of realizations that I have. And then I do book reviews on there. So I'll take a book, I'll review it, I'll talk about how it applies to Drive Fitness. And then I'm thinking about doing like podcast reviews too, of like other podcasts I like. Just other ways of reaching out, because every guest is supposed to bring some sort of knowledge that I don't have. Right. So these book reviews should be, another source of just information that, brings credibility to what I'm doing. Like some of the stuff you were doing, right? It's kind of the infrastructure's in place for if the podcast starts growing, then, hopefully we can start monetizing it a little bit. It's just $3 a month right now. If anyone's interested in kind of hearing about my internal thought, I can only get so much out in an interview style conversation, right? So it's more like unfiltered thoughts and behind the scenes kind of problems that we're dealing with. Moving past that, right? I built us a new website.
It's a great website, by the way.
I'm so excited about the website. So I did that with Squarespace.
Oh, really? Nice. Well, shout out to Squarespace.
Yeah, so I looked into it. The other options were like Wix.
Right.
What's the other one? I can't remember, but there's another one too. And Squarespace, it gives you the most flexibility. You can upload custom CSS code to it. They give you templates and stuff, but if you're a developer like us, we can kind of reach in there and really kind of tweak things the way we want them.
I think the other one is Webflow.
Webflow is definitely one of them too.
Yeah. Are you paying for that, by the way?
Yeah, so it was like $250 for the year.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was annoying, dude. I tried to pay for like a monthly subscription, and then it wouldn't take my card. And then I just switched to the year-long one.
That's how they get you.
And then it worked for some reason. But I had a discount on it. It was like 10% discount code.
Right.
So then I got a discount on the whole year. So I was like, okay, it's kind of worth it.
I mean, we're going to probably use it for the whole year. I guarantee
Yeah.
you.
Well, yeah. I just was like, I don't want to spend the money right now. And then I did. And then I was like, okay. So, yeah. So for the next year, we're paying for that. We've already paid for that. So that's kind of nice. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And it comes with a lot of cool features. And the reason I had to pay for it too was for the merchandise. So there's like a free Squarespace, but I designed us merchandise using something called Printful. So I've done this before where I just go like design a t-shirt.
Right.
But Printful is cool because it allows me to set up a library's worth of like t-shirt designs and then push those out to the store, which is my Squarespace website, right? So I kind of link the two in. Mm-hmm. And right now we have 15 designs, maybe 20, where it's like a bunch of t-shirts, some tank tops, one pair of sweatpants, one like sticker you can put on your laptop. That links into the Squarespace site, and it's pretty cool. I like Printful a lot because I can adjust the price on everything. So say, I think right now t-shirts, they cost like $12 and I set them to 17 or $18.
Right.
So we make $5 or $6 off every t-shirt. Mm-hmm. But if they're not selling, I can lower that down.
Right.
You know, I can just, if we want to use the t-shirts as a way to just promote the app, make them as cheap as possible.
Right.
Then we could do that. Or if people use the app and the t-shirts are how we make money, you know, then I can up the price of the t-shirts, you know, or the merchandise. So that's pretty cool. And I try to design the merchandise, like I was telling you earlier, to be kind of flashy and not necessarily about the app. So there's one that says like got drive. There's one that says no pain, no gains.
Right. It's more like the drive lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know?
I created some other ones too that I didn't put up there that said like nerd that lifts. I was like, okay, I can be more creative than that. But just kind of like that nerdy, you know, gamer lifter kind of vibe I wanted to put out. And I want to run ad campaigns on those too. So I didn't see much conversion for like the podcast, but I'm wondering if I take like the Got Drive shirt and I just run a big Facebook advertisement campaign on that, you know, feed it the pixel and all that stuff and just see, can I sell some shirts online? That'd be kind of cool to make some money. Like just kind of seeing, and if not, I think it'll bring attention to it, right? People will see the advertisements, they'll see the Got Drive, they'll click on it, they'll be brought to our website where everything else is.
You see, it's part of the whole Drive ecosystem of what we're trying to push, right? Mm-hmm. As the app grows and this whole brand that we're trying to push grows. Mm-hmm. Maybe people in the future will want that. At least the very beginning, it shows that like we have a whole ecosystem set up of a brand, you know, like that's important.
Yeah, I was talking to Tony about that too. It is cool. We have this ecosystem set up now where you have the app, you have the podcast, and you have the merchandise, and they could all kind of stand on their own, but they do run like a whole brand, you know, as an ecosystem. And we could choose to monetize them on different areas, right? We could have 100 users on the app and decide to start putting advertisements on there if we wanted. We could put advertisements at the beginning of the podcast. We could up the price of the t-shirts and make money that way. Or, you know, we could lower all the costs of everything and just try to grow our brand, you know, in the meantime for a long-term gain. I don't know. So, but it is cool that we have these options now just kind of set in place.
Can you see on Squarespace, can you see how many people go to your website or with Google Analytics, like how many people go to it, how many people click on like this merchandise?
Yeah, there is like an analytics section that I haven't yet dove into. We can go see everything that happens on the website for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just interested like if they have that option, which like I kind of like assumed, but like I wanted to like talk about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But like it's good to know, you know.
Yeah, and we can feed it the Facebook pixel, which means if I promote a shirt, then all the analytics that the website gathers will be sent back to the advertisement,
Right.
And so everything that someone clicks through our website, if they went through the ad to the website, then it'll send that back to the ad, and the ad will get smarter in the way it targets people.
We can see like how things are routed to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and the pixel will know shit we don't even know, like who to market to next. You know,
Dude, that's some crazy stuff right there.
Yeah, based on who went through our website and purchased something.
Right.
Then you take that person, tell it to the Facebook advertisement, and they start to market towards more similar people. You know,
right.
You have a pool of 20 people that bought your clothes. That creates a better profile for Facebook to go find even more people. You know, so it's interesting. Yeah. At this point, let's just start like some sort of brainstorming session. You know, I'm moving soon. We're not going to have all the time in the world to brainstorm in person. I was just showing you a clip of me and Tony's conversation about like this Twitch gym streaming lifting idea.
Right.
And it inspires some sort of Microsoft Connect kind of conversation. What were you saying?
Yeah, so back in like 2010, whenever Microsoft came out with Connect, and Connect is this camera that connects to your Xbox. They came out with one for the Xbox 360, and then they came out with one with the Xbox One.
I remember.
To kind of integrate gamers and fitness.
Uh-huh.
And so it was a big thing with like Just Dance. If you've heard about that, that was a big one. They did that with the Wii too. It keeps track of your hand motions. But the Kinect can keep track of pretty much your whole body, and it can track your body movements.
Yeah.
And so for school projects, I know back at JMU, like I used the Kinect for like robotics and shit like that. Mm-hmm. Can that be used in our product or something to progress the fitness technology field?
Yeah. So one thing that's interesting is that we were talking about something like Connect when we were building the animations. I remember there was this learning curve of just putting together animations, and we're saying, oh, you can take someone in like a bodysuit with something like a Connect.
Right.
And we could actually create the animations by doing each lift, you know, instead of adjusting the animation.
Right.
That's something that I considered. As far as tracking your workouts, I feel like the current technology that's used with virtual reality software would be a little bit better than the Connect, because the Connect, if I remember correctly, it's just kind of tracking where your hands and motions are in like 2D space. I don't know if it's really taking into consideration the full depth, you know, of that 3D space where there's two controllers you hold in your hands.
No. You don't hold anything in your hand.
No, but for virtual reality, those two controllers, they know. A Connect might know if I'm going up or down, but the VR headsets, they know if I'm like swinging back and coming forward, and
right,
I don't know if the Connect is going to track everything we need, but I do think that something like the Connect or something like those virtual reality sensors, like pinpointed on your body, run that over and over and over again, then use those data points in 3D space into machine learning software to find patterns.
Right.
Would give us a better idea of how to like differentiate between workouts.
Right. So I think teaching an algorithm that like detects, you know, if you're doing like no trainer needed, it detects if you're doing the right movement by like showing you what it shows the system what the right movement is, and then it takes in what the user's doing, and it's like, are you doing the right movement? Mm-hmm. You set up the Connect. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've seen technology of the Connect, like I think the newer one, where it takes in 10 points of your body, like your head, here, boom, boom, boom. It's not like pinpoint accuracy, right? You have the Connect take a video of the user doing the exercise, say it's bench press, and then they can compare it between what is right and what's wrong, and then they can like slow it down, the video.
Yeah, I don't doubt the possibility of video recognition being the future of gym tracking, right?
Right.
Over sensors in the equipment versus sensors in your clothing or using video tracking. But I do know that something like the Tesla car has 8 different video cameras all spawning out in 8 different directions, right? Obviously it needs to know what's around it, but I don't know if one angle of a camera is going to do the trick. I think maybe if we had a room, just like I was talking about in Tony's video, if you had a room with 4 different cameras angled down on someone, that might give you the accuracy to know everything they're doing.
It's kind of expensive, though.
Yeah, this would be way down the line.
You know,
I mean, but yeah, I don't know. I think there would be a limitation.
So I'll tell you, because you bring up VR, the Oculus, they used to make you have sensors on your computer, and then they would have to put it on the edge of your room.
Yeah.
So like in the corners. And then the newest version of Oculus came out with one that's just like the front camera. And it was like we have the technology now to like to utilize everything on the front. And so I know the PSVR, it goes everything from a frontal camera, and it just uses like gyro motions of the controller, which obviously like you can't really do with a weight.
No, I think it would be a combination of everything. I think it'd probably be a combination of video recognition along with gyro sensors in the actual dumbbells themselves or the barbells or whatever whatever equipment. I mean, I think it's going to have to be a combo of all those things.
If it's something that people want, you could do like specific tests on like what people think about ideas and if they're interested in buying something like that for like a home gym.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So, we had already been gearing towards maybe we should start off with gym home and equipment before we move on to the smart gym idea. I've said this to you on text recently. Thank God we didn't open up a smart gym 2 years ago when we wanted to do this because the pandemic would have hit and we would have gone the fuck under.
That would not have turned out great.
I sort of feel like there's some sort of, guardian angel looking out for us being like, no, Tom, don't open up a smart gym in 2018. That's a bad idea.
Right.
Because we would have been fucked. But at this point, we were already considering maybe we target in-home gym equipment first because it would be cheaper and less of a risk. But now with the pandemic, definitely, there's no chance I open up a gym in the next 10 years. I was already being like, that's too much of an investment. But now I'm like, the risk is too high. The risk is way too high.
There's so many gyms out there, right? You have so many options.
And they're just going to go under in the next couple years.
Depending on how things turn out, which is leaning towards the way of gyms are not going to be... I mean, take New Jersey, for example. I will give you a point where the governor specifically sued a gym from opening up. Not to get political, I know we wanted to get away from that, but the governor...
Bro, is you talking politics at me?
He sued the guy from opening up. He sued a gym from opening up. The gym was trying to open up, and the governor was like, nah, you shouldn't do that. And then the guy was like, no, we're going to open up because like we have to, we're going to go under. The guy was like, no, we're shutting you down, and then took away his business. I think the way it's heading, gyms are kind of being obsolete now. They're going to be around, I think, as like the United States turns more into how Japan and China kind of wear like face masks all the time because of the pollution. Mm-hmm. I think people are going to be more cognizant of viruses and how they want to react to how dangerous they are.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be more affected to wear masks and be more like socially aware.
So gyms are not going to go obsolete. Me and Blase were talking about the movie theater industry. That has the potential of going obsolete because everyone can watch a movie at home today. Gym equipment is pretty expensive. It's a large investment. There's definitely always going to be a portion of the population that cannot afford gym equipment. And I don't think they're going to go obsolete, yet I do think that this is not the time to step into that industry. It's not the time to open up a gym. There's going to be a decreasing amount of gyms over the next 10 years, and then slowly we might see a rise again.
Right.
But it's a lot of money for people to buy a full amount of equipment in their house. Me today, even me, right, when I was working, I could not I don't have the space in my house. I don't have the money to like put a real cardio machine. You just get such a benefit from paying $50, $100 a month. You get access to all this equipment. I don't think that we're going to see the extermination, but we're definitely going to see a decrease, and then maybe it'll level out. But anyone who can afford an in-home gym, I think, will have one. So it's not the thing I want to step into anytime soon.
It's definitely not the business to be in at the moment.
I still have like a lot of long-term hopes for gyms and actual opening up a brick-and-mortar establishment that way. But I think for the next decade, it's nothing I want to touch. There's not a room for a new gym in the next decade. It's just going to be like who can survive and who can't. So taking that into consideration, I've been brainstorming ways where we can capitalize more on the online, gym equipment. And I think a lot of the t-shirt sales have kind of inspired me to think about how, because it was really cool to me how I used to think I would need to order 100 t-shirts, keep them at my house, and then distribute them by like going to the post office and packaging them up and all this shit. And I figured out a way to automate that so that I got one company printing them out and sending them out to my users.
Right.
And I was like, this is dope. I should set this up for our equipment idea. So Here's my idea. I want to reward people with smart gym equipment or discounts on it. But you can't do that the way the app is built right now because people could just cheat, right? There's
Right.
I don't care if people cheat today because there's no real rewards. But as soon as I start introducing like a real discounts, it gets a little bit risky to, just say, oh, I'll give you some dumbbells if you get to level 50. So my thought process is, what if I invented this, or we introduced this new point system to the app, or new challenges, whatever you want to call it, where the first set of levels or challenges is all about that running app you talked about. So you got to run outside, you got to run 3 miles, you got to run 100 miles, or you got to run for a certain amount of time frame. You get all the running outside challenges, or biking or walking, whatever it is. As long as it's something that we can track with your GPS and confirm, as soon as you get to a certain point in our point system, we give you a big discount on like a heart rate monitor or an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. Maybe either A, you get a free heart rate monitor, or you get a big discount on like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. That maybe we strike a deal with them, or we go into the hole a little bit for a cheaper version of that. So once they do GPS tracking outside, here's a heart rate monitor. Here's a whole new set of challenges for working out in a certain heart rate. And we gamify that as much as possible. Oh, okay, you worked out for 100 hours in a healthy heart rate, or you kept your heart rate at a certain range, or whatever point system we set up in the app for heart rates. At the end of those heart rate challenges or points, then we introduce a smart dumbbell, or just a dumbbell with like a rep counter on it, or something. Whatever the next simplest step is that we can take, we introduce that. Okay, here's a little rep counter that counts how many reps you do with dumbbells. Do 1,000 reps, or do 10 reps a week for 5 months, or whatever, and we can pace these challenges out as long as we want, and not as long as we want what's profitable, right? So whatever the next discount is, it'll introduce the next smart equipment, you know what I'm saying? And we can guarantee that we say, okay, you have to get 100 reps a week for a year before you get this next piece of smart equipment. It's a huge thing, yeah. And so we can tell them that they get a 50% discount on the next thing as long as they do these challenges, and we know that we can profit off of advertisements or something in that time frame. Whatever it is, it's going to be calculated out to the point where we know that we can make a specific amount of money off of them using our equipment for 6 months or a year. And they know as long as they put that time into the equipment that we give them, they get the next piece of equipment. So here's the dumbbell that tracks your weight and reps. Okay, cool. Here's the new barbell. Okay, and then eventually it's like, cool, here's the new cardio machine. Here's the new cool bike that we got. Here's the new squat rack, know? And like over time, we can invent, or we can work with equipment companies, and we can give them discounts, and each level of this smart tier that they gets them a new prize, which also tracks their next set of achievements in the app. And it's all this online thing that's set up, and you and me can do it from like the safety of our own homes. We're essentially saying, like, use our app and we're going to give you a very discounted in-home gym. You know what I'm saying? So one at a time, very slowly. Right. Everything is tracked and everything leads to the next thing. That's my idea, basically.
The first thing starts out really easy, right? It starts at something small. You get them kind of like into it, start like doing stuff every day. Maybe,
just walk outside. That's it.
Yeah.
That's stage one.
We give them a small discount, 15%, or they could wait and like they get like a 50% discount. They can either wait longer, or if they wanted to get it right now, they just get a smaller discount, but they can get it right now.
First of all, someone can just buy the heart rate on day one. Right. Or someone can play the game and they can earn a free heart rate by getting enough walking points. Either way, we know they're going to buy it, or they're going to invest a lot of time into our app, because we start with what we can track on day one, which is the only thing that we can really track on day one with a phone is their GPS route. Right. And you just start with the GPS route and you work your way up to like you have a whole smart gym in your house. Yeah. And you just do that.
You got like the watch, you got the gym, you got everything, and it's all connected.
Exactly, yeah. And you just help these people build their in-home gyms, equipments.
And that's the thing you want to do, too, when you're working out. For me, I have not worked out in a while. I've been taking a break. I've been working a lot. Yeah. I need to get back into it.
And so there's this app that's like, hey, Matt, we know you don't work out much. You can get a free heart rate monitor if you just walk 100 miles. Yeah. And you're like, I can do that. Yeah. Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe over the next couple months. And then you just start walking around. Every night you go on a walk for a mile.
Right.
And then we give you this heart rate monitor. A heart rate monitor is probably like $30. That one we might be able to do for free.
Right.
We might be able to say, if you walk 100 miles, you get a free heart rate monitor.
Right.
Or we'll give you a discount on an iWatch or a Fitbit.
Yeah, something like
so
bigger,
then,
yeah.
So then you're like, I don't have any money. I'm broke and I'm out of shape.
You get like
Okay.
points. You get like, and you can use a certain amount of points, so you can go different ways.
And we calculate on our end, we have these advertisements, and we say, if Matt walks 100 miles, that's going to generate $40 of advertisements.
Right.
We calculate whatever it is, and we can afford to give him a free heart rate monitor because we've calculated out
That person's been using the app that much.
Exactly. And this is where the beauty comes in too, because every other social media and app, you're giving them your data and they're exploiting the fuck out of you. Right? With Drive Fitness, we're going to exploit your data just like any other company, but you know that if you put time into this app, you're going to help yourself build an in-home gym.
Right.
You know that your data is giving you points towards this new equipment.
You're getting something physical out of it.
So you're like, all right, I know that they're profiting off of me using their app, but I'm going to get a heart rate monitor. I'm going to get a pair of dumbbells. I'm going to get the next thing. Right. So you do the 100 miles or whatever we set it as. We give you a free $30 heart rate monitor.
Right.
Now, instead of walking around your neighborhood, your heart rate's got to be at a certain level. Now you got to run around your neighborhood. And we say you got to do 100 miles in the healthy heart rate zone or a time frame.
Right.
You do that. Now we give you the dumbbells. Yeah. Now you're earning points with the heart rate and you're doing the dumbbells at the end. And we ease you into it. Next thing you know, a couple years later, you have this whole in-home gym, you know, everything's smart, everything's sending it to the app, and it's all been like gradually earned, you know?
Right. And gradually built.
Ideally, I would like to build everything in-house, but we could set up certain deals with certain companies and try to work with people like ShapeLog or...
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like whatever the best business deal is, you know, at the time.
That's where my head's at for the long term. I never wanted to like give up on the smart gym, which I don't, but...
I don't think we're like really giving up on it, though. It's like taking a different avenue.
I still think long term it could happen, but it's definitely not something I want to put my money on today, dude. Definitely not.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially with COVID and everything. It's a weird time. You know, we might look back on this in a year and be like, we had no idea it was going to turn out this way. Like, we had no idea like things were going to go right back to normal or they were going to stay the same.
They're not, dude.
Yeah, I mean...
The weird thing about COVID is that it's like the effects are going to like gradually die off, but there's certain things that are going to stick with people. And I think if you can afford it, the preference for an in-home gym is going to outweigh a real gym.
But
people like aren't going to handshake anymore. I don't know. There's going to be just things that are just going to be weird.
Yeah, it's going to be like other big situations in the past, kind of like how 9/11 was. Security at right after 9/11 was crazy. Things gradually got a little bit easier and easier and easier. Things are like as secure as the public wants them to be.
This is going to be harder to get over than 9/11 because 9/11 was this big event and it kind of brought people together and, let's be patriotic and let's all get together. But this makes everyone else the enemy, right? The virus is the real enemy, but anyone could be carrying it. So this doesn't unite people. This separates people. This causes divides. And this is going to make people want to sit in their own house and do podcasts and lift weights and then work from home. And it's not going to bring people together. So it's going to change society. It's going to change the way we watch movies, the way we fucking work out. It's going to change everything. It's going to change our preference towards, I'd rather meet someone on a dating app and meet up with them and, not go to a bar with 100 people sweating on each other. It's going to make big shifts in our culture that as a startup, we need to adapt or we're going to fail.
No, absolutely.
As a fitness company, 9/11 would never affect us, right? But this drives us like a strong divide in people that is going to affect every company in every industry,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a different tragedy and event in human history. With every event, like the airline industry just needed to adapt. This affected us, and we need to adapt by it. So we're gonna take it. And we're gonna do what we need to do with it, and I think we're heading in a positive direction. That's good.
You've just been popping off, man. Let's just talk. How are you doing, man? You've been working hard.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
For those of y'all who don't know, I'm unemployed recently, so I've had this nice peace of mind. But Matt is still been out here working on his real job, working on Drive Fitness. How are you?
Honestly, I'm pretty good. Emotionally wise, I feel like pretty good. Maybe that's me having a girlfriend at the moment. Gives me someone to spend time with and whatnot. So I think that helps a lot.
I think you were at a rougher point when you didn't have a girl and you just felt like alone. Now you might be working harder, but at least when you're not working, you have that outlet. You have like a person to go confide in.
I might even be busier than I was before, but like I feel mature about it. I have some other kind of outlet to spend time on and like de-stress with. It's good for my emotional health. Honestly, I feel pretty good about life.
That's good, man. Sometimes working hard, it's like satisfying. It's just, I don't know. I love grinding. I'm a fucking workaholic, dude. I love staying up all night working. It's bad for me, but on the weeks where I don't work, I just feel gross. Like I didn't take a shower. Sometimes even on vacation, I'm just like, ooh, I could have done so much, bro.
I took one day off this week, which I didn't even like take a day off. Like I started working at 1 and stopped at 5 in the morning.
Getting shit done feels good. It feels good, man. It really does. I don't know. Some people call me crazy. Some people call you crazy for wanting to work all the time, but it makes me feel alive. I don't know. The thought that like this app could live on and this company could live on after we die gets me so energized that I don't know, like I just have this urge to like leave a legacy. A company like Disney, right? He's still here on this earth in a way, you know? And just shit like that, it's just like, damn, dude, I just want to like build something bigger than myself. And on a night where I don't work that hard, I'm like, I didn't make any progress towards doing
goal,
that. Yeah.
You know, that goal of like building something that's bigger than yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've worked for years. We haven't gotten to that point, but little by little, we're moving towards that goal.